live in interesting times. Today's stories. Crisis looms as Bosnia races to shelter migrants before winter. Japan and India agree to new defense and economic projects. Thousands of U.S. troops head for the southern border. U.S. Attorney on Bowers says justice will be done. Turkey and Iran discuss next steps after U.S. sanctions. Plus, the Iglesia Ni Cristo is recognized in Manitoba for its humanitarian works. Hello everyone, I am Jennifer Polantan, bringing you stories from around the globe, and this is Eagle News, Washington, D.C. With winter knocking at the door, Bosnia is racing to avert a humanitarian crisis for thousands of European Union-bound migrants crossing its mountainous terrain and sleeping without proper shelter as temperatures drop. The poor Balkan state has become a well-trodden stop on the new route to the European Union for migrants escaping war and poverty in Asia, the Middle East, and North Africa.
According to authorities, some 20,000 have traversed the rugged country this year, headed for European Union member state Croatia. But Bosnia, saddled with its own economic and political problems, is not eager to host the newcomers and has been slow to open reception centers, especially in the northwest region where most are gathering near the Croatian border. Last week, authorities unveiled two new facilities, one in northwest and the other near Sarajevo. Together, they doubled the total number of available beds for migrants to around 1,700. The UN Refugee Agency has warned that this still leaves more than 1,000 others in fragile conditions that could turn into humanitarian tragedy when the first snow falls. Many migrants have been living under tarpaulin, tents, and inside an abandoned building in the wooded park around Bihać, a city in the northwest that has become a base for attempts to cross into Croatia. Hundreds of others are clustered at makeshift camps in the area or inside deserted homes. Toilets and showers are in short supply, while aid groups and locals are stepping in to provide meals.
We have had a good life. We have lost it. We want a life. Is that too much? That's not too much. We want to leave this country. Someone should hear us.
Znači, trenutna situacija u ovom kampu liči na jednu pravu agoniju. Ne liči, to jeste jedna prava agonija. Ovi ljudi su u ovom kampu već mjesec i po dana bez struje. Danas im je isključena i voda, iz kojeg razloga navodno su neki radovi. Ne daju im preći preko granice, na livadi su pod vedrim nebom, bez struje.
Je pense que en fait ce qu'on est en train de faire c'est s'assurer qu'il y a suffisamment de lits disponibles pour les personnes qui sont en transit en Bosnie. C'est ça en fait l'idée. C'est pas nécessairement qu'on va garder les personnes ici ou qu'on va encourager certainement que les gens restent ici.
Japan and India agreed Monday to upgrade diplomatic and military ties, with Tokyo also offering low-interest loans as the two countries seek closer ties to balance China's weight in the region. The plans were announced as India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi rounded out a three-day trip to Tokyo for talks with his Japanese counterpart Shinzo Abe, senior ministers, and local business leaders.
Experts say Abe, who last week became the first Japanese prime minister to visit Beijing since 2011, was performing a delicate balancing act, working on improving ties with China while keeping relations with India on a strong footing. Abe said in a joint press statement with Modi after talks in Tokyo, strong relations between Japan and India are the foundation that will sustain the region.
私は常々日印関係は世界で最も可能性を秘めた二国間関係であると申し上げてきました。強いインドは日本のためになり、強い日本はインドのためになります。日印新時代を象徴する安全保障協力として、閣僚級2+2を新たに立ち上げます。
He said the two sides strengthened exchanges between Army and naval forces, and he offered low-interest loans worth 316.4 billion yen, or $2.8 billion. He said Japan and India will take the lead for stability and prosperity in the region.
आज इस साझा विजन पर हमने हस्ताक्षर भी किए हैं। कल ये हमारे भविष्य को नई रोशनी देगा। हमारे बीच पूरी सहमति है कि हम
Modi said the investment could create around 30,000 new jobs in India and that the two leaders had pledged to push our cooperation at an uninterrupted speed. Though neither leader mentioned China by name, experts said the talks come against the backdrop of expanding Chinese influence in the region. Modi and Abe have met regularly in recent years, with Japan last year inaugurating India's first bullet train project, a $19 billion project using Japanese trains and technology. It is meant to link Ahmedabad to India's financial capital of Mumbai and is scheduled for completion by the end of 2023.
Coming up, thousands of U.S. troops head for the southern border. U.S. Attorney on Bowers says justice will be done. Turkey and Iran discuss next steps after U.S. sanctions. Welcome back. You are watching Eagle News, Washington, D.C. A top general said Monday the Pentagon will deploy more than 5,000 soldiers to the U.S.-Mexico border as President Donald Trump warned a caravan of Central American migrants that the military was waiting. Air Force General Terrence O'Shaughnessy, head of the U.S. military's Northern Command, said that by the end of the week, there will be over 5,200 soldiers deployed to the southwest border.
Trump in recent weeks has repeatedly said more troops are needed to tighten security at the border, and he has made political capital of the caravan ahead of important midterm congressional elections that could see the Democrats regain a degree of power. The United Nations estimates about 7,000 people have joined the caravan since it set out from San Pedro Sula, Honduras on October 13th. U.S. Customs and Border Protection Commissioner Kevin McAleenan said they are incentivized to try to cross the border by the gaps in legal framework and the expectation that they would be allowed to stay. O'Shaughnessy said the military deployment would focus first on trying to harden border crossings and surrounding areas, with the work done by combat engineering battalions with experience building temporary fencing. Additionally, the Pentagon is sending 3 helicopter companies with aircraft equipped with high-tech sensors and night vision capabilities. He said they will bring border personnel exactly where they need to be, regardless of the conditions. Military police units are also being deployed. Officials noted those soldiers are not conducting direct law enforcement operations and will ostensibly be in a support role, they will nonetheless be deployed with their weapons.
Robert Bowers, the suspect charged with slaughtering 11 people at a Pittsburgh synagogue in the worst anti-Semitic attack in U.S. history, appeared in court Monday for the first time in a wheelchair. Attorney for the Western District of Pennsylvania, Scott Brady, says suspect Robert Bowers will remain in custody without bond, adding his next court appearance is set for Thursday.
The 46-year-old made little comment during the 3-minute hearing other than to respond yes and yes sir to procedural questions from the federal judge. He wore a blue sweatshirt. He faces 29 charges of violent crimes after opening fire during a baby naming ceremony during Shabbat services on Saturday, killing 11 people and injuring 6 others, including police officers. He reportedly yelled, "All Jews must die," as he burst into the Tree of Life synagogue where congregants gathered for services. Bowers was taken into custody on Saturday after being wounded in a shootout with police and transferred to the hospital. The extent of his injuries is unclear, and he wore no visible bandages. Bowers was wheeled into the wood-paneled courtroom, his face pale, his hair gray, and a surly expression on his face. His handcuffs were removed, allowing him to sign a piece of paperwork as he sat between 2 public defenders, a man and a woman, who represented him for the purposes of the brief procedural hearing. Bowers' lawyers waived the right for the complaint and statutory penalties to be read out. The prosecution spoke only to confirm that Bowers was classified as a flight risk. The judge scheduled the next court appearance for Thursday at 10 a.m. and until then consigned the defendant to the custody of the U.S. Marshals. He faces 11 counts of using a firearm to commit murder and 11 counts of obstructing the exercise of religion resulting in death. The crimes of violence are based on civil rights laws prohibiting hate crimes. Authorities have said Bauer's charges could carry the death penalty.
My office charged Robert Bowers with federal murder and assault charges relative to the horrific acts of violence he committed at the Tree of Life Synagogue. Today, Robert Bowers made his first appearance in federal court. The judge advised him of the charges against him. He is detained in jail without bond. The federal magistrate judge scheduled a hearing for Thursday, November 1st at 10 a.m. At that time, we will have the opportunity to present evidence demonstrating that Robert Bowers murdered 11 people who were exercising their religious beliefs, and that he shot or injured 6 others, including 4 of whom were police officers responding to the shooting. Our investigation of these hate crimes continues. Under the law, we must present this case to a federal grand jury within 30 days of today. Our thoughts and prayers continue to be with the victims' families and with the community. And rest assured, we have a team of prosecutors working hard to ensure that justice is done. Thank you.
Turkish Foreign Minister Mevlut Cavusoglu discusses with his Iranian counterpart, Javad Zarif, steps to be taken after the U.S. announced its withdrawal from the nuclear deal.
Diğer taraftan Amerika'nın tek taraflı aldığı yaptırım kararlarının yansıması ne olur? Birlikte nasıl tedbirler alabiliriz? Ve kardeş İran'a nasıl destek verebiliriz? Bunları da değerlendirdik. Nükleer anlaşmadan ABD'nin çekilmesi ve yansımaları ve bundan sonra ne yapacağız? Avrupa ülkeleri, diğer ortaklar nasıl bunu devam ettireceğiz? Bunu da aynı şekilde konuştuk.
When we come back, the Iglesia Ni Cristo is recognized in Manitoba for its humanitarian works. Eagle News, Washington, D.C. will return shortly. This is Eagle News, Washington, D.C., and I am Jennifer Palantan. A member of the Legislative Assembly of Manitoba in Canada recognized the Iglesia Ni Cristo for its humanitarian work in the region. Eagle News correspondent Mika David reports.
Less than a month after its Aid for Humanity events in Winnipeg, Canada, the Church of Christ was recognized in the chamber of the Legislative Building and received an appreciation for all its services it had offered to the province. The Church of Christ was recognized today by a member's statement in which a member of the House expresses his or her appreciation of an individual or a group for their contribution or service to the people of Manitoba. Member of Legislative Assembly Cindy Lamour of Burroughs recalls some of the aid efforts, events, and services rendered by the Church of Christ.
The Honourable Member for Burroughs.
An organization that is so huge that they are established in 147 countries, including here in Canada. The Iglesia Ni Cristo, INC, is a committed group of individuals who have decided to fulfill their pledge in extending help through aid and services, promoting education, socioeconomic well-being, environmental awareness, and health improvement. They do this through partnering up with local governments, community establishments, Aid for Humanity programs, and through Christian family organizations of the Church of Christ. Over the last couple of years, I, along with my colleague from Kiiwetinoong, have had the honor to participate in INC's events. I'd like to tell you about a few of these events. The first being the Worldwide Walk to Fight Poverty. This event occurred simultaneously in 44 countries across 18 time zones on May 5th. 1,140 Manitobans joined the walk, which happened right here on our legislative grounds. More recently, last month on September 28th, INC held an event in the north end of our city where over 3,000 care packages that they prepared were handed out to nearby residents, clients of local shelters, and those who may be homeless. The care INC provides extends across Manitoba. For example, when there was a shortage for blood donations this past summer, INC assisted in the Canada-wide blood donation drive. And when there was a need for evacuees of Garden Hill and St. Teresa Point during last year's forest fire, they fed Manitobans who were arriving by air from affected areas. Madam Speaker, in closing, it is organizations like INC and individuals like the 9 who have joined us in the gallery today, one all the way from Toronto, that are the embodiment of hope. They work to serve others, and I am hoping that today my colleagues will join me in showing appreciation to INC's service to our province. Thank you.
In her message, Lamra emphasized how the Iglesia Ni Cristo fulfills its pledge to the community through aid efforts, free services, and promoting education, socioeconomic well-being, environmental awareness, and health improvement.
Over the years, I've had the opportunity to come out to lots of events that have been put on by the Church of Christ and members of the group, and it truly is inspiring. And I talked about this in one of my prior interviews, just how uplifted I feel every single time, and I want to be able to bring that hope here into the Manitoba Legislative Building. So I'm hoping by making a statement today on it, it will expose the Church of Christ to more members of the Legislative.
The Iglesia Ni Cristo works hand in hand with the Felix Y. Manalo Foundation in reaching out to people in impoverished areas and those affected by calamities. The efforts of these organizations have not gone unnoticed, as clearly proven by today's event. Reporting for Eagle News from Central Canada, I am Kathleen May Pangan, 1 with 25.
That is today's Eagle News, Washington, D.C. Join us tomorrow for stories that matter to you. Visit our websites at Eaglenews.PH and EagleNewsLive.com. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/EagleNewsPH. Thank you for watching. I am Jennifer Polentan and I am 1 with 25.